yesterday was a strange day, guys. Really strange day. Why do I say that? Well, look at the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ dropped hard yesterday. Look at the Dow. The Dow had an excellent day yesterday. Really curious, right? So you think about that vocabulary word of the day, bifurcation in the market, right? You have this divergence. One area of the market doing well, value stocks, consumer staples. Companies like Walmart yesterday did really well. Companies like, for example, Hershey's, HSY, a very boring company, had an up day yesterday. AT&T had an up day yesterday, right? So you had this very, look at, holy crap, AT&T must have had rockstar earnings or something, but AT&T was up, right? So you had this very weird day yesterday. Why do I say weird? Well, because you had at the same time, Nvidia, a stock that I own, sadly, right now, dropped massively, right? So you had this ginormous drop. I had some gains in this stock that completely got wiped out yesterday, with the stock dropping 16, 17%. So, you're getting a little bit of a bounce here today, but regardless, the point is, yesterday there were some seriously strong winners and some seriously big losers on the stock market side of things. The NASDAQ dropped at 1.5%. It bounced back from those lows. And in my personal opinion, I do think that indices will continue north from here. I could be wrong about that. And I have a stop loss on my S&P 500 trade. But I think that the DeepSeek stuff, and I've said this openly on the channel, and I could sound like an idiot in a week, or I could sound like a hero, but this is my opinion. I think that the DeepSeek stuff, there was a reaction yesterday, in my opinion, that the market sold first and is going to ask questions later. So essentially, I think a lot of people said, oh my gosh, what is this DeepSeek thing? We don't know enough about this. We don't know how, is this going to be the new forefront of AI? And does that challenge tech, valuations and all this? And I think the market just sold out of like, okay, there's too many unknowns. Let's just get out of the way and come back later. And I think that might be what happens. I think we might see some selling in the short run. But I don't think that this is the end of the AI tech trade for the US markets. And if I'm wrong, again, I'll stop out on stuff, but I see markets going to new highs. And I'll say that now and look like a fool if I'm wrong, but who cares? At the end of the day, I've done this for a long time. I've been very, very public about my ideas, both right and wrong, and I'll continue to do that and take the heat when I'm wrong. It's part of the high I get of running this YouTube channel, right? There's times where I'm right, there's times where I'm wrong, and I'm going to be right, I'm going to be wrong sometimes. But I think personally that yesterday's reaction was a little overdone. And I bought the dip on some stuff. So that's my opinion. I also bought the dip on oil. I may have been a little early on this idea, but I went long oil price right around just north of $75 per barrel, US oil that is. And I've got a stop loss below the 61.8% retracement and the 73 key area level of support. So looking to see if that can hold. Part of the reason I like oil, somebody asked a question, Nick, why would you be buying oil if Trump is going to, kind of get oil and gas companies to drill a ton of it? Wouldn't that be a silly idea? Well, the thing is, markets are just never that easy. It's never as easy as, oh, Trump said this, now the market's just going to do this. That kind of theory has been in the markets for months, right? People have been kind of debating the drill baby drill stuff for months ahead of this time, right? Even before we knew Trump was going to be the president, there was, oh, well, if Trump is the president, oil prices could go lower. So that's been thought about for a long time now. This is why markets are difficult. There's a lot of smart people making decisions in markets, bidding prices up and down. So when I looked at oil the other day, I said, okay, we had this really strong push higher. We still have geopolitical uncertainty all over the place. The Russia-Ukraine thing, there was the idea of in 24 hours, we're going to have that done and dusted, right? That would have been nice. I would have been excited to hear that. And I hope that does end from a humanitarian standpoint, but I still think it's a risk. We don't know that that's just going to be an easy negotiation. And so, I bought the dip on oil with a stop loss below structure. Part of the reason I did that was not supply side based. It was actually demand side based. What I mean by that is when you're looking at oil, you always have supply and demand to consider. Supply side and demand side are two separate kind of things we have to tackle here. So for example, when you look at demand side, I would say the story for oil looks very good. So if we talk about demand side, right, the US economy is growing very strongly. PMI numbers were upbeat. Retail sales would work against us, but inflation statistics staying relatively cool could mean the global kind of risk on theme could continue. Jobs numbers in the US were strong. Unemployment rate actually ticked lower. Unemployment claims not too threatening. What I'm getting at here is that most of our economic reads are pretty strong for the US at this time. JOLTS job openings better than expected. So most of this stuff would tell me, look, the demand for oil should remain pretty intact. So when we look at that, we say, okay, the demand side looks pretty good. Supply side is a big old unknown question mark, right? The supply side of like, will OPEC do what Trump wants? And will Putin do what Trump wants? That's a bunch of question marks. And that's a really hard basis for me to trade around. So what I do instead is I focus a little bit more on the demand side. It's something that I can quantify and systematically use my edge finder to kind of focus on, right? So I can look at this stuff and say, look, economy, generally speaking, this is looking more blue than red. That would signal a little bit more orientation towards risk on. And in a risk on environment, I like the idea of having some energy exposure.
Trading is hard, but trading by yourself is even harder. This year is your year to join a trading community. The A1 Trading VIP Discord community is made up of thousands of traders around the world committed to helping you learn and to find better trade setups. Inside of the Discord, you can browse Trader Nick, Frank, and Ivan's trades on all things Forex, stocks, options, and ETFs. You also get exclusive access to Ivan's live coaching webinars, where you can learn from a seasoned professional in the industry and even ask questions during the webinar. We also have chat rooms filled with traders who share their thoughts and analysis daily. It's a space for both veteran and new traders alike to come together over their love of markets. Want to take it a step further? Upgrade to Pulver Alerts, where veteran money manager Chris Pulver shares his daily options and stock positions. All things A1 trading are happening in the VIP Discord. Start your new year off on the right foot and join today.
S&P out of the gate, a little bit lower here. I'm back to break even on this trade. NASDAQ a little bit lower, down 0.43%. I'm going to be checking out NVIDIA here today. NVIDIA had some gains. Now look at that, back to flat here on the day just about. Tesla down 1.7, Broadcom down 1% here this morning. Google's flat. Let's see, Microsoft slightly lower after the bounce back yesterday. Let's actually filter this, see if we got any interesting moves. There's SoFi and PayPal down, 2+%. Intel's down 1.5. And then we got some winners on the day. Look at Meta. Meta actually ripping on this data recently. Apple as well, CRM. A lot of these companies actually love the increased competition in large language models, as these are input costs to their businesses, right? Think about Meta. More competition in large language models is a good thing for Meta, who is using AI. They're leveraging AI to make profits in their business, right? So more competition for large language models, which could drop prices for Meta, is an excellent thing. So they're actually reaping the rewards, up another 2% today. This stock is ripping it. Same thing with Apple. Again, input costs were being reduced for these companies, basically adds money to their bottom line. So if that is the theory, right, we don't know that to be 100%, but if that's the theory here, you can kind of understand why these stocks would be actually rallying off of some of these concerns. Palo Alto, I have a trade on this one as well, so this is going nicely, so we like to see that. And look at that, NVIDIA officially down in the red here once more today. Not by a lot, about break even on the day, but we'll see where that stuff ends up. NASDAQ down about 0.4, at least at the time of us streaming here. Gold's up 0.5% on the day. Silver's back to flat on the day. Bitcoin's up 0.5%. I'm still in my Bitcoin trade.
So regarding rate cuts, I don't think there's actually going to be a rate cut. So if we have a look at here, if we look at the FedWatch tool, it's priced in. It's very, almost certain. There's obviously a 0.5% chance it won't, but there is that extremely high likelihood we're going to get the hold. The narrative I expect from Powell will be along the lines of he's not going to listen to Trump. He's not influenced by Trump. He doesn't really care what Trump says, because to be honest, that is what he should be saying, because Trump's not really a economist. So I would expect Powell to say that. I would also expect Powell to stay on his cautious approach. So to me, I would expect that to be more of a neutral to hawkish tone. And going forwards, it's very likely he will just stay on the data-dependent track. So I honestly think that the US dollar will be pretty bullish. Obviously, we'll have to wait until we know what Powell does say, but that's just my expectation. You think AUD USD is going down to create an inverse head and shoulders? I don't know. I think patterns are a little bit subjective, to be quite honest. I'm sure if you go back far enough and collect enough data, you'll see that, around 50% of the time they work, 50% of the time they don't. I'm not even really sure how to draw a head and shoulders. So on the daily and 4-hour chart on AUD USD, I don't really see. Oh, I see, actually. So I guess you'd mean this is the shoulder, this is the head, and then possibly another shoulder. Maybe, but to be honest, I would be more looking for a continuation of this downtrend and look for a lower high. I think the US dollar strength is going to continue. We heard a little bit more about the tariffs last night from Trump. Basically just reinforced the idea, which the US dollar liked. We've also, again, got the... we've got Powell coming out tomorrow, so I would expect the US dollar to be pretty stable. You still praying for euro shorts? I'm not praying because they're currently working out just fine. But yes, I am still short euro. Surge, yes, I'm still in euro positions. So currently in pound dollar shorts, I'm in a New Zealand US dollar long. I took this one yesterday. I explained it on stream. I've also got a video about it, but essentially this is a copy and paste of an HSBC trade. HSBC is a large bank institution, so copied their long position to basically offset some of my dollar long risk. So yeah, I'm short euro dollar. This one's completely fine. I'm still short on euro pound as well. This one's back to average price pretty much, so I'm basically break even on this trade now. But yeah, the mean reversion was pretty perfect, actually. So again, I've been talking about this for a while because I was stuck in this trade for, I'd say, the past 2 weeks, maybe a bit longer. So I've been shorting this whole move to the upside. Rejection of the previous Bollinger Band or the upper limit. I mean, yeah, it sounds ridiculous, but if you look at the way that this market works, especially on the weekly, it's pretty common for the market to bounce off these extreme levels. So yeah, back to break even on this trade. So just looking for a little bit of profit, then I'll close out of that one. So yeah, let's have a look at gold. Seems pretty strong, actually. We seem to be holding above this resistance level, which is quite a good sign. I wouldn't really class this as a retest, although it's pretty close, so maybe you could. It depends how strict you are. Came up to previous highs almost. Yeah, didn't quite get there, but almost did. So yeah, to be honest, I think the easiest path for gold right now is to the upside. Created very clear trend, upside trend. So profit target for me would be 2,800. Unfortunately, the risk to reward on this one isn't great unless you want to be a bit more aggressive. But yeah, I think gold upside is fine, really. Just follow the trend. In terms of macros, I don't have anything for gold, to be honest. There's not much that really concerns me in terms of upside potential, but I also don't have much that makes me want to go in for long-term buy positions. 2025 the down year. Yeah, I mean, I don't expect the US dollar to continue all year, but I do think it has some more upside left in it. Any books you recommend? No, books won't make you profitable. Taking action makes you profitable. So go on to websites where you can sort of understand like interactive learning type things. So you could do something like Udemy. They're quite good. There's also the other one, I can't remember the name. But yeah, to be honest, sitting down and reading 200 to 500 pages of a book isn't really going to do much for you. That's my opinion. I've never really read any trading books. Hi James, I wonder if DeepSeek may affect earnings of Mag 7. Lee, I would assume it would, but again, as I always say, I don't trade stocks. I'm really not involved in that world, so don't take that for gospel. But yeah, I think what we've seen was actually very concerning, really, because I mean, I'm sure all of you already know this, but DeepSeek was made for, I think it was 6 million, using outdated chips, and obviously done in China. Whereas ChatGPT and the other AI systems that are built in the West have obviously got the newest and the best hardware and chips and software built for hundreds of millions with billions in funding and budgets. So for China to do it cheaper with more limited conditions, to me, is a big warning sign for the US, to be honest, in terms of their AI leadership. Because at the WEF forums, Trump was saying he wanted the US to be the AI capital. So they're not really on track to meet that target at the moment. Based off daily fibs, I think next leg down is when EU gets to parity. Possibly. I think EU is kind of limited at the moment. I wouldn't say we're not going to parity, but I think it needs a kick. It needs some boost to get there. It needs something to happen. And I think that would be the ECB cuts is great. We've got the Federal Reserve maybe sounded a bit more hawkish, which would be good. But I think the cherry on top would be Trump solidifying tariffs on Europe. That would be a really, really good one. Oh, we've got... hold on, let me just pull up Forex Factory. Sorry, guys, completely forgot we've got news. I was busy yapping away. Where are we at? Consumer confidence came to the downside. Actually, that's not great for the dollar. Came out at 104.1. Forecast was 105.7. Previous 104.7. So yeah, undershot the forecast. I mean, it's not detrimental. I wouldn't say it's an awful release, but definitely not ideal. So yeah, I mean, actually, barely any sort of reaction here, which, to be honest, isn't really a surprise. You want pound yen? Yeah, we can have a look at pound yen. I'm not too bothered about yen pairs. I'm still sat on the fence. So obviously we had the rate hike by the Bank of Japan. That was very underwhelming. Didn't lead to anything really. The sentiment on the yen still seems very, very weak. I mean, look at this. So yesterday, when obviously the markets opened and we saw the large moves, obviously that's when we saw the yen spike to the upside and followed by sort of downside moves today. So to be honest, I'm not really finding anything that works for the yen in terms of any optimism, other than the potential of an intervention at 160 on dollar yen. So it doesn't make me want to buy. I'm just thinking of the pound. The pound, to be honest, isn't in a great spot either. It's definitely stronger than the yen in my book, but it's not something I am overly interested in having some exposure to. So yeah, to be honest, long side does make more sense in my view. Maybe something relatively small, just back to the previous high. So something along these lines. Look for a correction of Monday's move. Was this Monday? Oh, sorry, that wasn't Monday. This is a 4-hour chart. This was back in early January, but yeah, other than that, there's not much for me to talk about. Let's have a quick look. So this is a UK economic heat map. This. Is it this? I just need to make sure I've got this right. Oh, here we go. UK economic heat map. Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. I've not seen this before, actually. So GDP growth, actual forecasted change. So negative GDP growth. PMIs is good. Retail sales is poor. Inflation, lower inflation's better, really, because we need some rate cuts in the UK. Unemployment, it's not surprising, the UK is awful. Interest rates are at 0.25. So, yeah, all right, interesting. I'll have to come back to that in a minute. So, yeah, someone wanted dollar yen. So dollar yen, I would suggest, has more upside potential. At the moment, though, it's kind of trapped within, you know, if you want to call it a range, fine, I'd call it a range as well, but it's trapped within very small price movements. It's not doing much. However, I am still on the bullish side of the dollar, and again, not really hopeful for the yen at the moment, so I'd be quite happy to trade up into 160, and then I would be getting out of the position as quickly as possible. So the reason is because we've obviously got the danger zone at 160. And what I mean by danger zone, this is where it's projected the Ministry of Finance is going to intervene, and that's when they pump money into the yen and slow down depreciation. However, knowing or having been through the interventions before, they're never exactly on target. So, for example, if people are saying 160, it's likely not actually 160. It could be 161 or 162, 163. But that's sort of the general level. So in my book, 160 to 165 is where it's no buys and maybe going for a little gamble short side and see if we could catch something. But yeah, I think beyond 160, you're playing with fire, really. Trading is reactive, so I see no sense in macro as a retail trader. Pointless, honestly. Reb, why do you think euro dollar moved to the downside? Why do you think I was able to catch the whole downside move on euro dollar since September? Because I paid attention to macros. If anything, I think your point applies more to technical trading, because if you're looking at, you know, the previous 5 candles, that's all history is done. You know, it doesn't really mean too much without context.
I want to take a look at some earnings today. So it's Tuesday morning. We had Boeing, General Motors, Lockheed Martin, Royal Caribbean, RTX, JetBlue, Synchrony, Cisco, Kimberly-Clark. We can take a look and just see if there's any crazy reaction. RCL, Royal Caribbean, has been a beast, and it is again. This is a move that I would almost consider fading, which I don't want to sound stupid by saying I'm calling the top here, but you know, we have a pretty ridiculous run that I don't know how much higher we go necessarily, but it better be a dumb trade, to be honest. So I like Royal Caribbean, but I want to see a pullback. So I don't know if this, you know, tops out, fades out. We'll find out. But let's just take a look. So Boeing, BA, earnings popped on Boeing, so it's up to 186. General Motors gapped lower. Lockheed Martin, that's LMT, push lower. Let's see here. I've got a 111 trade for March down to 219. Okay, I'll keep an eye on that one. Let me see, 425. I got to set a chart alarm at 425. There shouldn't be that much volatility on this trade, but I'll see if that's a gap fill on Lockheed Martin. Earnings wise, they missed on revenue by 1.29%, beat on EPS. Stock price down, but pretty well supported. I mean, it's down below the 200, which I don't love. But if we have some trend line support here, you know, maybe bouncing, trying to get a gap fill. If we have like broader risk appetite, that would hopefully be a gap fill. I'll keep an eye on that one. RTX, that is RTX Corp, and busted up the new highs and then fading pretty hard with a red candle. We got JetBlue, down to 618. Son of a gun. These guys can't get their crap together. Good Lord. You got frickin' UAL just killing it to the upside. You got Delta to the upside. You got LUV with earnings this week. Southwest has earnings on the 30th. Frickin' JetBlue. Crazy. Anyway, I mean, it's pretty well supported right around this like $5 handle. They just can't break higher. Here is the weekly chart. I mean, we consolidated back in like 08, 09. It's like you'd think a stock that you could buy for the same price at 08 would be good, but it's also, why does it suck so bad that it's not any higher than it was in 2008? So I do have some shares of JetBlue, so that's why I can say that. I can hate on JetBlue stock. So I have, my break even's like $7. But I was looking to see if we had a range trade in here where we can go up and actually benefit like the other airlines are doing, to make in some fresh highs where maybe this gets into the teens and I take some profit. But anyway, that's JetBlue. Cisco this morning, that's food related. Wait, this is Cisco for computers, right? No, that's food. I was going to say Cisco food, and then there's CISCO for computers. $72. That one's pretty choppy. I don't know what the IV is on this one, but I would like maybe a, maybe a strangle on that one would be okay if you want to allocate some extra capital to it. But you're probably going to get terrible premium for it. What else? Kimberly Clark. Is it KMC? Nope. Kimberly Clark, KMB. This is a lot of like, this is kind of like a Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble type stock, trading at 132. Okay. More importantly is we got some earnings aftermarket today. I would say the two I'm watching the closest would be Starbucks, which is trading around 99.55 with some good support around 73. I'll watch this one. I don't really have a trade on Starbucks right now. And then Chubb, I have some exposure on with a 111. It is, what's the ticker? CB. So we're at 274. We bounced nicely off the 50 moving average on Chubb. And I'm looking at this as a 111 trade. I collected $2 income. I am willing to own some of this down towards if I own it, it's going to be 208. We got a nice support level at 223. So doubtful that I would really take any ownership on this play. So let's see what happens with earnings. Hopefully, if it's Q4 related, then it's going to be pretty solid. We go into tomorrow. We have Progressive Insurance, which should be PG. Nope. What's Progressive? PGR. PGR. Trading at 244. If earnings are positive, then my little ratio spread should be fine. Let me go back to the daily time frame as well. Right there at that 200 moving average. So if it holds here and pushes higher on positive earnings, that'd be nice. If it pushes lower, I would be willing to own. One thing with insurance companies is they do a pretty good job filling gaps. So if we gap lower, we tend to fill that gap. But if we have positive earnings, this pops up and this ratio spread is likely going to be full profit. So that's tomorrow morning. I want to take a look at Tesla. Let's get into the big swingers here. So Tesla trading at 393. Likely going to have some powerful earnings. Let me see what the market makers say for Tesla. So TSLA. So the IV at 65.7, which is pretty high. We have earnings Wednesday after close. If we look at a Friday expiration on the 31st, market makers looking at about a $33 move for Friday. That doesn't seem like a lot to me.
Did you know we do a live trading show Monday through Friday with guests from all over the world? To get notified when we go live, click the bell button next to the subscribe button or check in at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We have helpful, free content in the description below and on our website, a1trading.com. Thanks for watching today's video, and we'll see you tomorrow.